for the people listening,
Yeah.
what is a good price to pay for a BBL, and what is the price you should walk away from paying?
A good price to pay is the price that's gonna get you what you want.
Okay.
Money, money, money.
I sleep very well knowing I denied like 8 patients and only did 1 patient.
But some people just want surgery so they can be confident.
Exactly. They want their inside to match their outside. I remember when my dad got laid off, and I remember the next day this man had on a Burger King apron flipping burgers, and he was just in this manufacturing job the day before.
What would you say is some of the most rewarding aspects of being a plastic surgeon? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. We have been having a lot of fun off camera, and we about to turn the camera on and keep the party going.
Keep the party going.
Gotta keep the party going.
do
But
it.
in order to do that, we got to introduce our first guest. So today we have Dr. Wilton Triggs, who is a plastic surgeon, educator, and passionate advocate for equity in healthcare and education. He was the first chief resident of plastic surgery at the University of South Florida and has over a decade of surgical experience. Beyond his clinical work, Dr. Triggs is a mentor, advocate, a founder of the Dr. Wilton Triggs Foundation, which focuses on promoting financial literacy and educational equity for underserved communities. And so with no further ado, Dr. Triggs, how you doing, man?
Hey man, feeling good. Well, after that introduction, shit, I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like we need to go on the road with this show.
Absolutely,
No,
man.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Yeah,
I've been checking
man.
out the podcast for a minute, so like it truly feels like an honor to be here. Like real talk.
Man, we appreciate you, man. We've been checking out yours as well, and we've been tapped in ever since Urban Golf Weekend, right?
Yeah,
so
man.
Essentially, that's what we kind of curated, on the podcast episodes that we've recorded over the past few weeks. Is just all the amazing people that we met during that weekend, and we just, you were one of the dopest people we met. It was a vibe.
Yeah.
We saw you on your yacht. We was on our yacht.
Yeah. Situation.
Passing the bottle.
It was
Passing the bottle.
a bottle war, but we was on yacht.
Yeah.
Some new stuff.
Love is love is love. So how do you get the thighs to match the BBL?
Here we go. We
We jump right into it because like you look at asses all day long. Like how do you how does a day in your life look, brother?
So usually I'm operating early in the morning. I'm usually in the OR at minimum by 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. We cooking, and so I get up in the morning, work out, I do like devotion, and then I'm headed to the surgery center, see my patients, and then mark them up, and then we in the operating room. Now to match the thighs, to match the ass, I mean it's some balance to it. It's an artistry to it. But you also have to think about the biomedical sciences to it. Like when we inject the fat, a lot of that fat doesn't survive. And so that's why you'll hear about women talking about, I had like 3 BBLs, 4 BBLs, because usually about 30 to 40% of it's going to be lost, sometimes 50%. And as the more rounds, as they call it, or more times you do a BBL, less and less of that fat survives because it's just not good viable fat. It's mostly just scar tissue. And so, some people be overdoing it. Some people be putting fillers and all kinds of stuff in there, and it gets a little crazy. So it's just a balance. You got to know, you got to look at the whole patient, not just, at the ass, as they say. You gotta look at the whole patient.
I know
look at their frame, like
this
shoulders
is a unique
and all.
episode.
This is a unique
This is a unique
episode.
episode of the Melanin Money Show. So take us back a little bit. What made you decide to get in the medical field, more specifically plastic surgery?
So medicine in totality, I was like just a college freshman, and I used to watch that show House. They used to come on Fox.
Yeah.
And I was just like really intrigued, like how the body worked when it got sick. Like, when we get a cold, why are we like coughing up and stuff like that? Like what's going on the cellular level? And so like I thought I was just gonna be like a rural little country doctor. I'm from Alabama, and then I got to med school that summer. Going into med school, I was reading all these books on by neurosurgeons. So I thought I was gonna be a neurosurgeon. I read Gifted Hands, Keith Black, this black neurosurgeon out in UCLA, big time. And I got there. I shot out some neurosurgeons. It was not a good personality fit, so I thought I was gonna do dermatology. Looking at the skin, because my mom's mom died of melanoma, which is rare in the black community. Wow. And so still interested on the microbiology level. And so I did this program as a second year medical student, which, at Meharry was like the first time it had ever been done, because I applied to the American Academy of Dermatology for this mentorship program, did the rotation at Vanderbilt and loved it. And so, but I like working with my hands. And so they were like, one of the residents was like, well, you should check out plastics. And so I did a plastics rotation, loved it, and like the rest was history. I think it just matched with my lifestyle. You work with all ages, from neonates all the way to the elderly.
Yeah.
You can do reconstruction, you can do cosmetics, you can do burn, microsurgery. Like you can do like a lot. And we're also known as the surgeon. So when a surgeon is having a problem, that's when they call in plastics to come in to do whatever needs to be done. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I've
Dope.
loved it ever since.
Dope. Yeah.
So just general question, is plastic surgery dangerous to the body, or is there a way to have a plastic surgery that's not detrimental to what's already there?
So there are some procedures that have like a higher mortality or a higher morbidity or complication rate. There definitely are, and it really just depends on the patient at the same time too. So when you get into reconstruction, a lot of those patients are on the sicker side, unless you're doing like breast reconstruction or something like that, or like trauma. Those are usually like younger people, so they usually can handle surgery well. But when you're dealing with a lot of different cancers and stuff like that, or even right now the BBL is considered the most dangerous surgery of all surgeries in cosmetics.
Really?
They say 1 in 3,000 is chance of death. Now there's other studies that are saying that actual figure is inflated because now they know what's causing the deaths when it comes to BBLs. So now they're looking at tummy tucks for having a higher morbidity than BBLs at this point. But no, if the sicker the patient when you're doing more reconstructive stuff, the more chances are it's going to be more dangerous. From a cosmetic standpoint, it still depends on the patient, how healthy they really are, and how well trained the surgeon is at the same time too.
Dope. So I guess what comes to mind for me, like as a doctor, when you see somebody come in and maybe it's like they want all this different work done,
Right.
like, do you ever feel like kind of a moral obligation to be like, nah, I don't know if we should be doing all that? Or
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
I
cool.
say that every day.
Okay.
Every day.
I have no problem shutting patients down because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's still my medical license. I have 2 young children, and I've had a lot of debt that I've had to pay off, and so I'm not going to risk that. And then at the same time, I look at it as if it was like one of my friends or something like that. Like, no, if you want the best results, sometimes you need to stage it out. Do this procedure first, then in a few months we can do the next one. I mean, a lot of people like trying to cut costs with anesthesia, travel, and stuff like that. But
Cost of anesthesia is crazy.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
but it is.
Keep cramming these 3 surgeries real.
It's the first thing they're gonna say, and I'm like, yo, I'm and then I'll be like, well, maybe I'm not the surgeon for you.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk to one of my partners.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't lose no sleep over that. But what I will lose sleep is if they have a complication or they wind up in the hospital. That's when my anxiety is up. And I'm like, yo, should I did this? What did I miss? What, something like that. So. I sleep very well knowing I denied like 8 patients and only did 1 patient, in a week or something like that, because they just weren't fit, or they just didn't grasp the concept of like how the post-op care was going to go, or, entail what the surgery process was going to go. So.
Yeah. So I'm assuming business is going very good. Just like looking at where we are as a society right now.
Right.
Why do you think plastic surgery is so prevalent, especially in the Black community right now?
So I really think it's the reality TV show effect, the Kim Kardashian effect. So plastic surgery used to be taboo, and it was only for like those that could afford more of the wealth.
Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Really,
So you look at the early 90s, you know what I'm saying? If somebody had work done, it was real hush hush. Now people actually have surgery pages on their Instagram. They have their personal Instagram, then they have like a surgery Instagram where they blog basically their whole surgical journey.
Wow.
They put wish pictures on there. They put out tips and tricks, all that kind of stuff. And I think from the reality show standpoint, more people talk about it because they're more, I went to such and such doctor and got this done. It's almost like a flex at the same point.
It's almost a flex. It's almost a flex.
It's almost a flex because I mean, I have women that their surgery page is like Triggs doll 2024 or Triggs
What?
doll in January 2025, stuff like that. Yeah, it's a whole like culture. And so, it's almost like a fan type deal. And they'll brag like, oh, yeah, I got my breast done by Dr. Triggs. Because if you're known for like a certain procedure, they flex that out. Like,
I paid top dollar for these.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. So I think that in combination, but I really think it was the reality show effect of like women talking about it more on these reality shows that really put it in the mainstream and made more, from the Black culture for them to really talk about it and get more into it. And then it just kind of ran with it at that point.
So I guess my question for you is like, do you, when it comes to these procedures that these women get, are you kind of desensitized to like how is your perspective as a man? Like, do you like I mean, obviously you like your work, but like, do you prefer women with plastic surgery, or you do prefer natural women?
So to answer the first question, I feel like when I'm in work mode, like I'm in the zone. Like
I know they be shooting. I know they be shooting now.
No, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. But for me, it's like, and I think I have like a gift to really compartmentalize. I think most men do. Like if they have trouble at home, they're able to like lock in at work, or sometimes they work even better because they're like totally focused. And that's me. So I turn it on and turn it off. And so like when I'm at the job, like I barely, unless I'm looking at their face to do something to their face, I don't even remember their face. I remember their body. Or if they said something funny during consultation. Because if they walk up to me, I'm like, I have no clue who they is. Unless I see like a tattoo or something that reminds me. So to answer that question, like I just zone out. I look at the problem and I try to see like, you know, how I can fix this and if I can fix this in one surgery or two. In terms of like natural versus, you know, someone that's had work, I don't mind someone that's had work as long as it's like, if it's like the aesthetic that I like, and I like more natural work. And I think that's why most of my patients, that's why they come to me. Because one of my partners, he does the more dramatic look, you know, so he does a lot more of the IG models and stuff like that. Most of my patients are like, you know, lawyers, teachers, judges, cops, detectives. I've had FBI agents, you know, because they want like what I call BBL allegations. Like, oh, if she's just naturally stacked like that, or, you know what I'm saying, did she get some work done? And they just, and that's what I like, you know, to put that out there. Because you put out a bad calling card, they be like, man, who is your surgeon?
I ain't going to him.
I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I've denied patients where like they were already like, you know, quote unquote botched, and I'm like, I can't fix this. It's going to take too many surgeries. Exactly. And I know if I operate on them, I'm the last surgeon to touch them. So they're going to be like, oh, who is your surgeon? And the first surgeon they're going to say is
most
me.
Recent.
The most recent one. And I can't do that, bro. I can't go down like that. You know what I'm saying? I can't sign off on that train wreck.
Yeah. So I know that you had literally had surgery this morning. Like, so you flew in later today. So my question is, I know you're a father, also you're a very advocate father. How do you juggle all the things, right? Fatherhood, being a successful surgeon, like how do you juggle it all?
I don't even know. I just make it happen. So my twins, they live out of state. They don't live in Florida. Okay. And so I see them literally every other weekend. So one weekend I may be in Miami, and one weekend I'm definitely with them nonstop, unless it's like a conference or something. And I let my ex-wife know, you know, usually like a month or so or more ahead of time. But I just make it happen. And so for them, if you follow me on IG when I'm with my twins, we're always doing something because I have limited time. So everything has to be quality. Where we go out to eat is quality. Whether I'm cooking or we going out to eat, you know, you don't really see us like eating a lot of fast food unless we're just in between things because everything has to be quality in my opinion. And, you know, so we're always at the zoo. It's rare that you'll just see us just laid up in the room unless we're just tired. And they're like, Daddy, can we just take a break? I'm like, bet, we'll do that. You know what I'm saying? I work with them on their studies and everything like that. So like that, to me, like fatherhood is the best job I have. And I love it. And I could be broken down and out, but I will always make time. And, you know what I'm saying? Everything else comes second to me because they didn't ask to be here. And so like, you know, and it's made me a better surgeon, a better Christian, and a better man as a whole, like having them. And so that they make me work harder to build something for them. So
love that.
Do you feel like African Americans are underrepresented in the plastic surgery community?
Oh, absolutely. There's programs now like a guy, a Dr. Derek Banier, he started what we call the Arthur Gaines Society, where he was the first black plastic surgeon acknowledged in America. And so that's to help more minorities to get into plastic surgery and not necessarily like the aesthetic side, like reconstructive side, because there's so many like branches under plastic surgery. And so, yeah, we're definitely underrepresented. And you'll have patients. I remember being a resident at the University of South Florida. Patients come in and say, I've never seen a black surgeon. Or not even seen a black surgeon, seen a black doctor.
Wow.
And so, I mean, just like in all realms or specialties of healthcare, definitely underserved. And that's why they have like all these programs to try to get more minorities into healthcare. And actually the numbers are dropping off. They're not increasing.
Really?
And a lot of it is like some people want to get to the bag earlier. So a lot of black, especially in black men, and this was going on when I was like in med school, they were doing studies. A lot of them are going into tech, and engineering and stuff like that, because, you know, you in college, you come up with a great idea, you already in the bag. You just learning your business acumen to scale your business. A lot of people don't like the delayed gratification of going through medicine because this is a hard road, and you really can't look at it from a financial standpoint. You got to really just love taking care of people, because, you know, hospital is, you know, it's part of hospitality. And so it's like, you know, it's just something
I've never heard that. I've never heard that. That makes so much sense. So one question I have is just like, when you think about cosmetic surgery, right? Typically people think it's all about vanity.
Right.
Can you think about an experience where like it was transformative for somebody's life beyond just the aesthetic, and just like what happened for them?
Yeah. So I mean, I've had patients that were victims of abuse, and they've had scars or they've had trauma to their body. Because, you know, if you fall really hard, you can damage, like, you know, the fat and the muscle, like, you know, in your torso, and, you know, your buttocks and stuff like that. So they'll have like huge dents and stuff like that. And it was from basically she got beat on. And so, you know, the fat gets damaged. She was like, yo, I'm not even expecting a lot. I just want to kind of have this filled in, because every time I look in the mirror or every time I want to go to the beach, it reminds me of that night where, she got, you know, beat down or whatever. And so, like, I've had like multiple cases of stuff like that, or like traumatic incidents like car wrecks or something like that, where people just want to kind of try to erase that from their memory, or at least have some type of like shining light to like get past that moment. And so I would say from an aesthetic cosmetic standpoint, those are like the big cases where it's like, all right, let me see what we can do to try to like give you the most outstanding result we can, so you can have a better mentality or whatnot. For sure.
Because interesting, because we think it's all vanity and they want the nose job and the cheeks and the BBL, but some people just want surgery so they can be confident.
Exactly. They want their inside to match their outside. And so that's probably the biggest thing. It's rare, I would say, that I run into someone that's like just pure, just super vanity type stuff. To be quite honest with you, it's mostly like, you know, I just want a little bit improvement just to kind of boost my self-esteem, or I just want to get some lipo because I'm going to start working back out in the gym and I just need a little bit of jump start. I need to see something to give them a little bit of motivation. For sure.
Gotcha. So one thing I didn't know about you is that you had a foundation.
Yeah.
Right. You talk a little bit more about that, and what made you set it up, and what's the geared towards?
I have a financial team at the same time too, and I watch a lot of financial planning and personal finance videos on YouTube. That's how I know about you. Actually, I knew about you way before Urban Golf. I was like,
perfect,
because I know you had like a lot of videos go viral. I was like, this guy's all right. He knows his stuff. But I've always been interested in giving back. I've always been mentoring, like tutoring, like even from like high school and middle school. You know, when I was in middle school, I was tutoring elementary school kids, and then vice versa. You know, on and so forth. But being in a fraternity, doing a lot of mentoring programs. But I always knew that I was going to be giving back at some point. And I felt like when I was getting ready to graduate medical school, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I know sometimes the author gets a lot of flack or whatever.
That book people changed my life. Made me quit my job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That book literally did change my life, because my dad was the poor dad. Like, you go to school, you make good grades, you get a good job. And I was like, yo, I remember telling my cousin's like my sister, because we grew up in the same house. We're like 2 months apart. And I was like, yo, like, you know, this is us. Like, this is exactly what we've been told our entire life. And so, like, through residency, of course, I had to put, like, you know, kind of my, like, because the biggest thing they preached in that book was, like, you know, studying finance, you know, every little bit helps. And so I had to kind of put that on the back burner when I was in residency. So once residency was kind of coming to an end, I started reading a lot more, listening to a lot more, like, wealth podcasts and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, I want to be able to, like, pass this knowledge on. So that's why I started the foundation. That's the premise of it, because, like, you know, I got the advice from my dad. My dad didn't know any better, but, you know, he still I got to where I needed to be. And so for me, like, I want to be able to impart that on, like, you know, the communities that don't know, like, bro, like, there's other ways of getting money. There's other ways of, like, building the life that you want. And so I feel like doing those little seminars from, like, elementary school, middle school, making it tangible, almost kind of like with the guys with the assets over liabilities, those guys.
Leisure?
Yeah, kind of like how they started, where they were just kind of like doing stuff in the classroom, and that's what the foundation's for. And, it's non-operating. So, I give money to charities that do the hands-on work, so, and at some point I'll turn it into an operating one once, I get more established and, bring more funds in. But yeah, that's what brought me to it. Yeah. And of course there's a significant tax
advantage. I was
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Smart man.
Yeah. What we started our foundation, in 2023?
Yep.
What would you say is some of the most rewarding aspects of being a plastic surgeon?
Oh man, I and it's funny because I never think about like when people come to me or saying, oh, I feel so good, but I literally read a DM on the plane which is like, thank you so much, like you literally changed my life, like I was really down and out. And I'll be honest, when people come to me and they're kind of like almost like seems like they're in a state of depression, I really don't like to operate on those type of patients. I feel like they need to come in with a better mindset because surgery is like the ultimate stressor, and if you already are down and out, what I'm saying, added stress is not going to be good for the outcome. But she was just super elated. So like when I get those like little stories of like how they've like helped themselves or they got back in the gym and now their result looks even better from how it was 3 months ago. After lipo or a tummy tuck or having a mommy makeover after finally doing, because they'll usually come in there and be like, I'm finally doing something for myself. I done raised these 5 kids. They had a good place. Those are the stories I like to hear. And I would say those are probably the most gratifying moments. But I don't ever look for them. They just come up and they say it. I barely post them or anything like that. But those are the ones that make me feel good.
Okay, so you like went from no exposure to now you're like one of the
that guy.
Yeah, now you're that guy, especially in Miami. Like you're the most well-known surgeon that I know in Miami. How did that happen? Did you start posting content about your surgery? Like
so when I took my first job out of residency in Ohio, this small town and in Ohio, and I loved it. Like I was like a small town country doc, but I was a plastic surgeon. I still did aesthetics. I was doing a lot of reconstruction. And I wanted to be closer to my kids and be down in the South. And so, but I was still doing content. So I was like a resident and I started my Instagram page because I knew what was coming. Because Dr. Miami had showed the blueprint.
Yeah.
He was the guy. That's why he's so big, because he was the first one that was putting it out on social media. And all the like old heads, the changing of the guard, they don't like that. And they still don't like it. Because I remember my attendings, like my chief year, because that's kind of when I started it, we're like really hesitant on like us putting stuff on social media. But I did it. I felt like the way I did it was like really smart. Like I would post like stuff with me studying, like different procedures and stuff like that, so they could like they could see it and they didn't complain about it. Like, I'm studying to do this like the space transplant or whatever. And so I started building the following then, and then. That was my 5th year. My 6th year, when I was a chief resident, like I posted, being USF's department's first Black chief resident, that went viral. And so I started building the following from there. And so I started posting more of like mentoring medical students, like from my alma mater, Meharry Medical College, HBCU.
Okay. Nice.
And so that started building. So when I got to Ohio, the pandemic hit. And so, everybody was really tapping into social media. So I linked up with these other Black doctors, different specialties, RMRN, shout out to them. And we started doing like a lot of like posts and collaborations, and, I went viral a few times doing stuff with them. It was on the Shade Room and all the blogs on Future, Anthony Anderson's page and stuff like that. And so that kind of gave me a following. That built my following. So when I came to Miami, I just really hit the ground running. I was at this one surgical center. It wasn't really a good fit, so I went to another one, but they were known for their marketing, this new place. And so like I was already kind of tapped in, and we just ran with it, just pumping out content. But my thing is with being doing content is like I only do stuff that I'm personally comfortable with. Like if it's cringy, like I might do it in the time, then be like, all right, either take it down or I don't want to post that anymore. Like I have to feel comfortable with it, because like this stuff gives me anxiety, and I feel like it just has to be acceptable. But just kept pumping content, just putting out, like being authentic, and I think that's what really like kind of took me over the top too.
Dope. Where do you see yourself and I guess it's your practice over the next few years? Like what's next for you? What's in the landscape on the horizon?
I think, I truly have like an international practice, because I have people travel in. I think the farthest I've had people travel in was from the Netherlands. I get a lot of people from the Caribbeans, like Jamaica and the smaller, like St. Croix, the smaller islands and stuff like that. I think It'll probably be more like the non-surgical stuff, like opening up a med spa, like people to come in, because that's like a good gateway or a feeder to plastic surgery, getting Botox fillers. Then after a while, they want to get something more invasive. I think that, and just probably bringing in other surgeons, kind of scaling up, I would say, and kind of falling back from actually operating. If I do operate, it's it's not going to be the amount of numbers I do now. It would probably be less. Just to basically transition more into the business side for the most part. Yeah, like I'm not gonna be like the old guys like that die with a scalpel in their hand. I probably got like 8 more years of actually operating and I'm done.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
One thing me and George always talk about is how important environment is, right? We think that environment is actually more important than genetics. So how did moving to Miami accelerate the growth of your business? Because that is probably the number one place in America where people get surgery.
Absolutely. So I was up for a contract negotiator because it was a 2-year contract when I was in Ohio. And I really wanted to go to Atlanta because it was going to put me closer to home, closer to the kids. And, I wasn't really finding a place that was going to fit because I'm like, I'm making more money in Ohio. My cost of living is lower. And my workplace was chill. Like, I mean, like you said, environment is so key. And like my work-life balance was great. And so I wasn't going to leave that to settle just to be down south. And so I got hit up by this one surgical place. I interviewed. I mean, it seemed like it was going to be okay, but the contract was trash. I remember, it was my first time coming to Dallas, actually. I was on a Southwest flight. And my business attorney was like, "Have you looked at the contract?" I was like, "No, not yet. I'll read it on the flight." He was like, "All right, read it, then call me when you get off the flight." I mean, it was the worst contract I ever heard of. It was like every little red flag, and at this point, I wasn't really big on legalese. I didn't really know how to like really read contracts and stuff like that, like I do now. And I was like, this is trash. So we sent them a memo trying to get them like change this, and that, like the non-competes and stuff like that. And they didn't want to come off on. So I think at this time, this is like 2021. I was like, it's 2021. I'm not going back and forth with y'all. My attorney's charging me $550 an hour. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stop responding to them. We're done. And so I went on our plastic surgery jobs board because in my mind, because I never saw myself living in Miami. I just didn't think I would be a good fit. I'm from the country, a small town.
Now you make it look easy now.
Yeah. So I don't be going out like that. I just be chilling. But I went on the jobs board and saw this one posting, and then I was like, all right, well, I can come down here next weekend. Let me check it out. I like the center. The owner and the CEO seemed pretty cool, and that's what brought me down. And then I took off like wildfire because they had like a pretty good marketing team too. Not as good as where I'm at now, but that's what really started putting my name out there. And so I also like was really big in investing in myself. So when other surgeons, like, cause you can buy into more ads, like Facebook ads, IG ads and stuff like that. I was dropping like $4,000 extra a week to really pump my name out there on social media. And I think that was what really took me off. So when everybody was eating, I mean, I was eating as well, because it was a high season. So that's around this time now. People get their income taxes during the summer. People want to get work done. Everybody's eating good. Well, during that time when I was getting paid a lot, I was putting a lot of money out for ads. And so when everything dropped off, usually around back to school time, that's when things kind of chill on surgery, I was booked. And these guys were hurting, like doing like maybe 2 or 3 cases a day or something like that. And I was.
Two or three surgeries a day is hurting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Depending on what you're doing now, if you're doing like a mommy makeover where it's like multiple, doing breast, tummy tuck, lipo, doing multiple surgeries at one time, then no, it's fine. Or doing like a facelift and a rhinoplasty, that's fine. But if you're doing like BBLs or just lipo, no, that's hurting. And so, I was booked and busy, so I was turning patients away because I took the time to drop thousands and thousands of dollars to pump my name out of there to invest in myself, because you gotta like keep it coming. And but no, like I think of course would it be in Miami, people are always here to people are always looking for a certain look. It definitely grew me. And so that change had to happen.
For the people listening, what is a good price to pay for a BBL, and what is the price you should walk away from paying?
A good price to pay is the price that's gonna get you what you want. Okay. To keep it quite honest, like me, like I feel like I'm like Target brand. Okay. I feel like my work though is like Dior. So when you come to me, if I turn you away or like it's an issue. Like, I have no problem with that because I know how good my work is. Whether that's doing breasts, mommy makeovers, lipo, whatever. Like, I know how good my work is, and my patients will tell you how good my work is. So you getting it at you. That's why I don't really run like a lot of specials or anything like that. I was like, yo, I'm not going any lower. Like, I'm not doing any crackhead prices. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a partner that dropped his prices a lot, and I'm like, don't drop them. I refuse to get to that level because, I mean, it reflects on you at the same time too. But there are guys that charge astronomical, and their results look terrible. And I'm like, yo, people paid for this? Like, I saw a lady have a tummy tuck out in Beverly Hills. It was $35,000, and it was trash. She was coming to me for a revision. I was like, one, this revision is going to be harder than the original tummy tuck.
So it's going to be more than $35,000.
Exactly. And two, you could have got that tummy tuck down here. In Miami, I think the standard tummy tuck is like around $5,000, $5,500. That's why so many people come to Miami. It's almost like
supply and demand.
Exactly.
How like the Urus is like the Miami Mazda, because there's just so many.
It's so many. And then I like to equate it to like Blue Magic. You got a potent product. You know what I'm saying?
I stand by that name.
Stand by it. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, you can sell it for cheap because you can do that. And so that's why so people work off volume come down to Miami.
Dope. You mentioned earlier in the podcast you have a financial team. Can you tell us a little bit about like the dynamic of your financial team and what role that has played with you building wealth outside of your practice?
Exactly. So when I got that contract from that terrible contract, I hit up my boy Bernard Ashby, who's a cardiologist in Miami, and I met him through the IG doctor group that we were doing content with. And I was like, hey man, do you know any business attorneys? Because my first contract with the hospital, I had my financial planner looked at it because he had done so many contracts for other doctors. He knew what to spot out. But since I was leaving them, because they were like more traditional, I wanted somebody a little bit more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to get to the money. I wasn't just trying to be comfortable. And so he put me in touch with this wealth advisor, Alex, who put me in touch with Chuck, who's my business attorney / tax attorney, and looked over my contract or whatever. So that's how I got the introduction. And then, I told them what my goals were. I was like, yo, I'm not trying to be a plastic surgeon forever. At least from an operating standpoint and name only. Like, I'm trying to accumulate wealth and build generational wealth. Like I said, I've been doing my own self-studying, listening to all these podcasts. I was trying to get to it. And so, we have so of course we did all the traditional stuff, life insurance, setting up the blue chip stocks and stuff like that, the portfolios and stuff. And then I have a more riskier portfolio to really try to get to it. But that's how it came about, working with those guys. And every once a month on Monday, we have a portfolio call where we talk about where the money that I've invested is going to now. You know what I'm saying? From a tax standpoint, my business attorney's wife is my CPA. They show me everything. So every 3 months we go through where we're at and what the tax burden is probably going to be this year and what we need to do to try to move things around. And then they put me in every vehicle there is to save money as well as make money at the same time too. And they will answer my call any time of the day. If I have a question, I've been reading on my own. They'll send me articles and stuff like that. And it's been a great match. They the things that I'm passionate about, like urban golf, they became a sponsor just like I did, and they're gonna be a sponsor this year. They're sponsoring into my foundation at the same time too. And it's because they have bigger clients that make way more money than I do. I think they got 9-figure clients, but this is the first time they've had a client like me that's coming in, straight out the mud. And so it's almost, I can see it's almost like a little bit of a pet project. We about to grow this guy to show that our formula works. And so, and I'm cool with that.
Dope.
Love it. So this is the Melanin Money Show, obviously, and one of the most important questions that we ask our guests is, whether you're a current melanin millionaire or aspiring melanin millionaire, what does being a melanin millionaire mean to you, Dr. Triggs?
I think being able to have that, I think wealth affords you freedom to do what you want to do. And that's what I do. I want my freedom. I want to spend time with my family, aka my kids, and my mom, my dad, my brother, my cousins. And so being able to, so we do a family trip in Orlando. We've been doing it since, I think this will be our 8th year. It started when I was in residency. Didn't even know about it. They were like, oh, we're in Orlando, pull up. So I pulled up or whatever. So being able to pay for the big vacation home. Don't worry about it. Just pull up. You know, I'm taking care of that. Being able to do stuff like go out to dinner. I'm like, I'm taking care of the tab. It's no big. Oh my gosh, are you sure? I'm like, yes, because I spend more on myself when I go out to eat. So like being able to do those things, like, you know, my dad, you know, I help out my dad. I help out my mom. My brother had a stroke like 2 years ago at the age of 30.
Wow.
Being able to, and he had no insurance because he didn't opt into his insurance plan. He's a chef. And so, once he got out of the ICU and got on the floor and then he needed to go to rehab, well, he didn't have insurance. And I was like, well, no, we need to get the best rehab possible. So being able to write that check cash so he could get, you know, stay at Jackson and do their inpatient rehab, which was the best rehab, you know, we can get, and not blink an eye or be hurting or like wondering how it's going to pay my rent. Boom, be able to have like legal representation. Because I have like 4 attorneys on retainer, and just knowing to be able to like navigate life like that, I feel like that's what it's about. But it's also like showing them like, yo, like you can get here too. Like I came from nothing, you know what I'm saying? Right. I remember when my dad got laid off, and I remember the next day this man had on a Burger King apron flipping burgers, and he was just in this manufacturing job the day before. And I was 12 years old. I still remember that before they split, him doing that, because he was never that prideful. He was always going to try to support his family. And so that's always been my drive and motivation. And so I feel like being a Melanin millionaire is being able to afford that freedom to take care of my family, but also be an example of getting to this point to be able to do that and give back to the community.
Love that. Well, man, we appreciate you coming all the way out to Dallas.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I
coming on the show, dropping some gems, letting people know the market rate for BBLs. The price went up. But man, until the next time, y'all. Peace.